What is up, ladies and gents? It's your boy Lou Streets, and I'm back with another video. And in this video, we are talking Tekken 8 Season 2. As you guys know, the reviews on this haven't been so great, depending on who you ask. And I've had a lot of people ask me, what do I feel about this patch in the game, and how do I feel about Season 2? Because obviously, I've been a large advocate for everything that we've been getting in Tekken. Knowing that some adjustments need to be made, but I've been pretty much an advocate for Tekken. I haven't really been playing Mortal Kombat 1 that much. So the homeboy TJ Dobbs reached out to me and was like, yo, if you haven't already, I'll await your thoughts and input on this in your next video. And I told him back, I plan to do one, but I think my perspective is going to be different than most people's. And he said it's perfectly fine. I haven't been on Tekken for a while now, and I'm seeing all of this. And as much as I watch your content, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. So what I mean by saying that I think that my perspective is going to be a bit different is that, I've been very positive about what Tekken 8 has done so far. And I was thinking to myself, because I was watching a lot of the reviews and people kind of, review bombing the game, is getting review bombed on Steam and all these different places. And I realized I'm having a lot of fun with the patch. Now, the main things that I wanted in the patch, well, first of all, let me get into why I think that I'm having fun, and then why I think some people are having an issue with it. So when I was looking at people review bomb it, what I realized was that it was a lot of the high level players. And I guess this could be applicable to MK1 in a way, because I've kind of had this gripe, but pretty much what I've seen is that a lot of the high level players that are used to winning tournaments, winning events and things like that, pretty much from my understanding of watching them, and I'm just saying this from my perspective, I could be wrong. This is just my interpretation because this is my video, my thoughts. So don't really get in the comments trying to debate me. I'm simply saying from my point of view what I think they're saying and why I think they're saying it, right? So a lot of the high level players, Arsenal Ash, Knee, JDCR, Case K, a lot of the high level players have not been so fond of this patch for their reasons. The main universal reason that I'm seeing is that they don't like the constant offensive interactions, and I even seen main man Sweet say something about this as well, because the constant offensive interactions kind of nullifies their knowledge and their ability to defend, which is what makes them pretty strong at the game, or at least strong at Tekken 7. Like having high level defense to deal with many scenarios and then picking and choosing your spots offensively, that was kind of like their strength from my perspective when I would watch the game. Now in Tekken 8, offense is a lot more revved up as far as aggression goes. We got the heat system, we got heat dashing. Now we have heat engagers where you can come in with a low mix or come in standing up. So we have all these different offensive options, and pretty much what people were saying is that they wanted more defensive options to deal with things because they feel like they're constantly getting 50-50'd. Everybody has a stance and it's just rush down, rush down, rush down. So from my perspective, I feel like that's what the high level players are saying. They are essentially saying the skill gap should be out here when it comes to defensive ability, as far as me being better than you. But because of the game and engine mechanics, the skill gap in defensive play is being kind of narrowed, because there are just entirely too many options for offense. So that's one of the things that I'm seeing, right? And so with that frustration, I can understand that, because if you put in years of knowledge to understand what characters do, and there are so many legacy moves, and then you're kind of nullifying the defensive knowledge that you would have because of just constant pressure, constant rush down, etc., I can get how that can be frustrating. The second thing that a lot of people are complaining about, and I understand this perspective as well, when I say people, I want to say that I'm focusing on high level players, because that's going to come back to my point that I'm going to circle back around to, because this is what made me make this video. So when I say people, I'm talking about high level players. So the whole time when I say people, I'm not really talking about the whole entire community. I'm simply talking about the high level players, because they've been the most vocal, right? But the second thing is that when it comes to the way that Season 2 is promoted, it was talking about defensive options being improved, buffered sidestepping, being able to step toward the screen from crouch, pretty much giving you more defensive options to play the game. And to be honest with you, I was looking forward to that myself, because in Season 1, I got to a point where the game felt so casino, where I truly enjoyed playing Tekken in casual and playing with friends and playing on stream, but I got to a point where I wasn't enjoying playing it for ranked. And it was because the penalty for losing was so high if you lost 3 matches in a row, when like you're legit losing matches on knowledge checks. And then so on top of that, with the game being rushed down and you're getting knowledge checked to death and you can't really step, I kind of got to a point of frustration where I still enjoyed the game, but I didn't enjoy playing ranked because it was too much at stake on the line. And it's like, you know, with Tekken, it's a career system in regards to your character. So if I'm Tekken King and I get demoted all the way back down to Raijin, I got to get all the way back up to Tekken King. And as a content creator, people are going to constantly ask, hey bro, what happened to your rank? What happened to your rank? You don't really want to like be bothered with that. So naturally you feel the pressure to keep playing and going. But at the same time, when you feel like that you're losing based on a lot of things that aren't in your control, like this 50-50 chaotic pace, you know, the wall splats being inconsistent whenever you're doing certain combos. I'm a law player, that seems to happen to law a lot. I can understand the frustration. So the main 2 gripes from pro players was that too much rush down offense, which pretty much nullified their defensive knowledge, and then sidestepping being promoted and being pushed as far as what this patch was going to be. So we get season 2 patch, and I'm enjoying it and I'm having fun. But what I think I've realized in the midst of how this has been received, you've ever heard the saying, ignorance is bliss? I think that's how I feel when it comes to Tekken. So the thing is, I didn't start playing Tekken 7 until about 2021. And I mean, I played in the past when I was younger, but I was just mashing buttons. But as far as like playing the game, learning the game to understand, really diving into Tekken 8 hardcore when it dropped, and really trying to understand how the game is played and, you know, what matchups are and, you know, what moves to step, what's unsafe, I've really been locked into this Tekken. But what I think is, I think there's ignorance is bliss perspective from enjoying Tekken 8. And the reason I say that is because, as I said, when I referred to people complaining, I was mostly talking about the high level players. I think because I'm not as good as them, it's allowed me to enjoy the game more, because since I don't know every minute detail of the game, it makes it where I can kind of play off instinct, play off some matchup knowledge, and play off the sidestepping and the new defensive options, and it makes me enjoy the game. The only problem with this is that they've added new moves to kind of nullify the sidestepping. And I think this is where they dropped the ball, and I wonder how they're going to adjust this. Like when we have the Jack scenario, and you can't have any options to that besides Power Crush, but then he can read that and bait you to like a throw or something like that. Those are the things that don't make sense. And I will say that Tekken is very visually appealing as far as watching on tournament. Like a lot of the times, it's just a fun game to watch. Tekken 7, I never found Tekken 7 that fun to watch. When I was trying to learn how to play Law, I watched a lot of Tekken 7 creators to understand how to play Law, but the game itself wasn't really fun to watch for me because of the constant blocking. And I see that that's where they're trying to go this year, but kind of toning some of that down and making the game more offensive. But the problem is, I think stepping should be buffed. So my 2 main gripes is this. There are too many scenarios where an offensive player has all of these options to keep you pinned down, and it feel like stepping doesn't work. And the thing is, they implemented buffered sidestepping, and they implemented the buffered throw text from Tekken 7, where like if you press 1 and 2, it gives like that extra frame for you to press a button. The problem is, since they're not testing this stuff out, it's affecting gameplay in other ways. So for instance, it feels like now I drop a lot of combos because if I do like manual DSS3 with Law, it pops heat. But that's because when I press down 1+2, then I press 3, because of that delayed buffer system for throw tech, it's also registering like that in combos, so then it gives me heat when I don't want it. Same thing with sidestepping. When I'm doing a combo and I'm trying to dash cancel the, trying to like get a dash in to convert my combo, sometimes that initial dash is in red because of like the sidestep buffering, which is all directional buffering, and it kind of messes things up. So I wish they would test those things out a little bit better. The second thing is, when it comes to stepping, there are too many attacks on the game that are meant to be linear attacks. Like from my understanding of Tekken, back to what I said about ignorance is bliss, from my understanding of Tekken, when you do a tracking attack, there's gonna be a white line that checks it. Like if you do like Law's back 3 roundhouse, a white line checks with it to show that it's a homing move. It's meant to track. And certain attacks do track to the left or track to the right. But my issue is, there are too many times when an opponent of mine may do like a 1-2-3 string or something like that. Not the buttons, but just like a 1-2-3, like a 3-hit string. And I'll step, and the first 2 jabs are missed, but then the third one to clip me. Or somebody will do like a 1-2 jab. This happens a lot when I play against Jin Kazama players. I'll step and they'll do a 1-2 jab, but the second jab clips me. My thing for Tekken is, I understand that the game is meant to be more offensive this time around, which I have no gripes with. However, there should be a reward for defensive play to some extent. It doesn't have to be like over the top where every single step works, but like there should be a consistency where if you do a 1-2-3 string and I step you, you should get punished for that every single time. It shouldn't be where sometimes it does work, then other times it doesn't work, because that makes it harder to build the muscle memory to pretty much have a wider skill gap. And I think that's kind of what the pros are trying to say, but they have too much information where it almost like haunts them. Where for somebody like me, since I'm not as good as them, I'm having a fun experience. I get tilted by certain things because you're gonna get tilted when you play games, period. But at the same time, I'm still having a fun experience because of the fact I don't know enough to be angry to the capacity that they do. I remember I have this friend named Isaiah. We used to play a lot of Madden back in the day before like I started making fighting game content. And he said this really profound thing once. He said, the better you get at a game, the more it pisses you off because you know too much about it. So now your tolerance level for something going wrong is significantly shorter because you labbed that situation or you understand why the game mechanics shouldn't do said thing. Now, granted, as I get better, I've got tilted by more things, but I think this is kind of what's haunting the Tekken Pro players, because I don't want to say that they're holding on to the past, but they have a version of their mind in which they fell in love with the game, and this version doesn't align with that, and it can be frustrating. And the reason I can relate to that is because while I never did really play Mortal Kombat 11 competitively, I was extremely good at that game. And so the thing is, I've had a hard time accepting Mortal Kombat 1 because it doesn't feel like Mortal Kombat to me, and it's for many different reasons. But the biggest reason is just because I love Mortal Kombat 11 so much, I don't think I have the open-mindedness to really enjoy Mortal Kombat 1 to the capacity I've ever enjoyed Mortal Kombat 11. And I think that's what's going on with the Tekken Pro players when it comes to 7 versus 8. Now, some people are just having fun, the content creators, even the high-level content creators like Main Man Sweet, who he's really good at the game, doesn't really compete like that, but he's really, really good at the game. But he's playing, some people will call him a shield for stuff like that. But I just think the reality is, if you want to win because you're playing in a competitive environment, and you have this deep affinity for Tekken 7, it's hard to enjoy Tekken 8. Versus me, I don't have a deep affinity for Tekken 7 because I came to that game late and I put a lot of time in this one. So regardless of if Tekken 8 tilts me or not, I still play it every single day. It's by far my most played game. I'm guaranteed to play Tekken 8 every single day. Just last night at 1 o'clock in the morning, I was raging on stream about playing ranked, but I know when I get done making this video, I'm going to do another Tekken 8 stream tonight. Now, I will say the part that does shock me the most is the way that they promoted the Season 2 launch and what it's became, because they constantly talked about promoting defensive options and sidestepping and, different mechanics to give the defense more of a chance. But then you pretty much nullified that by bringing in all these crazy over-the-top offensive moves. Also, some people have been upset with some changes to their characters. Now, the funny thing is, I'm a Law player. And when I put out my most recent video with Law, I titled it Season 2 Law is Better. And me and my homeboy Gadani, we played a very sweaty set of a Law mirror. We only played 2 sets, but it actually took us 41 minutes to play because we were sweating it up. But a lot of the comments here were going against what I was saying. It was like, they were pretty much under this, everybody's under this assumption that Law has got nerfed. Now, I enjoy the flexibility of the new combo routes. I enjoy some of the new moves. A lot of people don't like certain things. One of the main things they don't like the Dragon Crusher has been taken away from FF3, and we've been given the Dragon Divider move, which makes sense. It makes it a little bit tricky to drop a combo when you're used to pressing that muscle memory, but you'll get around it. Also, some people don't like that F1 on heat doesn't heat dash into a full combo no more. Now with the sliding knockdown, you can get one follow-up, and now Dragon Cannon is actually the one that follows up for more damage. But the thing is, you get newer routes off that, so I still enjoy it. But a lot of people are kind of frustrated, and they're saying that Law got nerfed. And I think this is debatable because I like the new Law better. Now, do I miss some things that he had? Yes, I do miss having Dragon Cannon, as a armored launcher, but they took armor launchers out the game. I do wish Dragon Cannon was still FF3, but in reality, I don't use raw Dragon Cannon that much anyway. I really don't do a lot of armor moves because a lot of times when I would do an armor move, I would always get coincidentally blown up by a low. So I try to rely on my neutral and my punishing. I don't really use armored attacks too much unless I feel like I absolutely have to, right? So that's one thing. And then the second thing is, the new routes. I like the flexibility of his new combos. The new wall carry gives me a lot more creativity, with things like that. And then also the damage and the wall carry with the soft aerial tailspin. I think all that stuff is great for Law. The one thing that I am a little bit perturbed by is the while standing 4, how that got taken away, the while standing 4 on counter hit follow-ups. That does suck, but in the grand scheme of things, that's not gonna really stop me from playing Law. But if you look at my comments, a lot of my commenters on this video, they don't really agree with me. You know, they say, as a Law main and fan, I cannot be biased. Law is significantly worse. Adding punishable, easy to read moves didn't help. I spent a lot of time with Season 2 Law, and opponents aggressively come at him with no fear. I don't fully agree with that. I think that you can condition to some extent. It may be a little more challenging, but I think that Law is still Law. I feel like I'm still as dangerous, if not more dangerous than what I was. I love that the nunchucks, every nunchuck attack gives us more heat. That saved me in certain matches. When I'm using down forward 1-2, or I'm using up forward 2, or even just nunchuck on hit 1+2, getting that extra meter, like, it's really, really useful. Plus we still have the parry in DSS, which gives you meters. So I'm a fan of that buff. You know, I think if that's a trade-off for me losing Dragon Cannon being FF3, I'm fine with that, but some people don't feel that way. While standing 4 is the only one that I really like. I wish I kind of still had that. And I kind of wish F1 still did combos, but the reason I feel that they did it is because since they took away armored heat launchers, or heat engagers rather, and Dragon Cannon was one, I figured the reason they switched that combo route off Dragon Cannon 3, DSS F3, is because they want to give us more damage. Because Dragon Cannon does more damage than DSS F1, but now that it has combo routes, you'll get even more damage. I figured that's what the trade-off was. The Dragon Divider move, it's a cool move. It's not overly useful, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's decent if you want to have some variety, so I'm not mad at that. But let's go back to some more of these comments. I don't know how I feel about Law, but I still main them, so I'm going to stick to it and adjust. And then I think this is another thing too, right? You know, there's the funny saying where Bruce Lee be water, and when Law ends around with his DSS parry, he says like water. I think there's some pride in me feeling like the water flows through the river, like the water flows around the rocks. I'm going to just be water and adjust. I'm gonna always be a Law man. I'm not going to abandon them. But I think what the general consensus is that people are saying he's got nerfed, not necessarily because he's not a little bit better. It's because other characters have so much. But some of that stuff is going to get pulled back. Like Jack, that crazy move he have that makes some noise, that's going to get toned down. Kazuya, who's my pocket character, he got a ton of buffs, and he's great now with some new combo routes. But I think they're going to leave that just where it's at. So I think it's not a matter of Law not being better. I think it's that some characters were given so much that it kind of made people feel that Law weren't that good. But some of that stuff is going to be toned down, because I would assume that it has to be, unless they're going to just stand on business with these crazy ass offensive changes. And so the last thing that I want to mention is, as I said, when people have a lot of history in this game, I feel that they're not receiving this patch well because it doesn't really go with the traditional Tekken that they're used to. So like, for instance, my homeboy Mike Hollow just did a video recently, and Mike has definitely been on the, he's not fond of the patch, right? Like, and I think me and him differ on this, but I don't think it's like a hardcore difference. I think it's more so Mike has more history with Tekken than I do. So naturally he kind of hangs, he's on that side of the fence where it's like, this isn't the Tekken that I really recall or like grew up playing, or this doesn't feel like that version of Tekken. Where me, I simply just don't have that bias, not because he's wrong or I'm right. It's just that since I don't have that experience in playing Tekken from the past, to me, this is Tekken. Like, if I was playing Tekken 4, 5, 6, 7, 3, 2, 1, then maybe I would feel differently about this. But since my most experienced Tekken game is Tekken 8 by far, naturally this is just Tekken to me. So I think this is kind of what haunts the divide in this conversation. So ironically, Mike did a video about this not too long ago where he like did a Tekken talk with like maybe some other guys. I think it was like an 11-hour stream or something like that. But he was on like a lot of different creators. He's been very vocal about some of the issues in Tekken 8. A lot of the issues that I do agree with, but just not to the point where I'm not playing or I'm boycotting the game or staying away from the game. I still enjoy it, right? But he did a video on that recently, and apparently a lot of him and the guys were like having debates about the game. Some random guy, this Desmond Peterson guy, he basically comes into one of the tweets and says, hey Lou, wasn't that you on stream? Like, I ended up commenting on one of Mike's tweets, and then this guy was like, hey, were you debating Mikey yesterday on stream? I wasn't, you know what I'm saying? And Mike was like, that's not Lou. And then this dude was like, yes he was, I heard that dude, what do you mean? And Mike Hollow was like, how you gonna tell me it was Lou on my stream? And then I was like, it was funny because the dude went on to say, whatever they were debating about, this dude supposedly like got cooked or something like that. So the guy says, what does he say? He says something about getting cooked. I can't find that tweet. Let me see if I can find it. It seems to have disappeared. I think, you know what, I think he must have deleted it. He deleted it because he was wrong. But pretty much, he said something along the lines of some guy got cooked in a debate who basically was like standing on the side of Tekken 8 Season 2 being pretty good, because obviously people know I've said I've enjoyed it so far. And so he was like, no, bro, that wasn't Lou or whatever. And I was saying like it wasn't me. And so like I guess the dude backed off of it. But let's check out this guy, because this is the guy that they were saying sounded like me. Let me put on my headphones right quick. But there's this guy that's ranting here, and people thought it was me. And I don't think this guy sounds like me at all. But let me see what you guys think. Let's press play.
Go on the argument.
Blackheart. No. Seriously. That's literally what I'm not throwing the card out there.
And I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for that.
I'm very careful to put words out there. I try not to be like even with me being a YouTuber, I try to be careful what I like of shit.
And if you look in the chat, right here, you see it says, somebody says, hey, he sounds like Lou Streets. And then other people was like asking, is that Lou? Like, bro, that's not me. I don't even see how y'all hear this voice and think that sounds like me, because as I've said, I enjoyed Tekken 8 Season 2, but I don't enjoy it in a way where I would have a debate with anybody, because I don't have the history or the lore or the knowledge. So I'm totally open to the idea that I could be wrong about Season 2 in regards to what could be better. But when I think it comes to this, I think this is just like personal preference over opinion. I'm enjoying enough to continue playing it. Now, do I get tilted by certain things in it? Of course I do. Do I want to feel like that my side steps and my spacing works a little bit better? Of course I do. Do I want to feel like that I can get put in a, like there's a situation where I was playing a Lars player the other day, and I did my F1+2 Dragon Hammer, and I usually bake that in the slide. He stood up and like took it on block. I did my slide, but I didn't input it correctly, so it made me press down 3 instead of slide, which would have reset the neutral and knocked him down. So when I did down 3, he got hit, and then he just started mashing with Lars. I had a full bar of health, and for the next 9 seconds, I didn't get to swinging again, and I got killed. Those are the things that bother me about Tekken 8 in regards to like this casino feel where like knowledge checks are just so overwhelming. That's why I feel like sidestepping and linear attacks not tracking you at all could come into play, because even if you don't know the matchup, if you just play solid, sound, fundamental defense, I still feel like you could prevail, even if you're just being disciplined on maybe eating a few lows but not ducking for like getting blown up with the big mid. My only real gripe with the game is that the steamrolling is just too much, you know, and then it's the steamrolling can be too much, which is why the defensive options are more valuable, which is how a lot of people feel, because that's what they promoted. And secondly, this input system, they kind of need to just fix whatever they messed up, because the buffering 1-2 tech of 1+2 throws, whatever they did to give that leniency to the button for the break, they left it in combos, so it's messing up my combos. And the same thing with the sidestepping, because they made buffer sidestepping. I understand the logic behind how they did it, but I feel like it should have situational implementation. I don't know how they would do that, because I'm not a coder, I'm not a dev, but at the same time, I think it just needs situational implementation. Like if you're doing the 1+2 break, that should only be in regards to when you're breaking the throw. That shouldn't be over the whole gameplay, which makes you drop your combos. When it comes to buffered sidestepping, that should only apply in situations where you're in a blocked state of any type of string. It shouldn't apply when I'm doing a combo and I'm trying to dash up and it doesn't register the same. So I think those things need to be adjusted. Overall, I think this is year 2. I think that Tekken 7 lasted for a really long time. If I'm not mistaken, I think Tekken 7 launched in 2015. Let me Google that just to be certain, so we won't spread false information. Let's just see. When did Tekken 7 release on console? Let's see that. 2017. Okay, so I was wrong about that. So it came out 2015 in arcades for 2 years. Then in 2017, it got moved to Unreal Engine onto console, right? So now Tekken 8 comes out in January of 2024. And we're a little bit over a year. It's April 8th right now. We're a little bit over a year, so about 15 months in. I think that considering that game came out in 15 and lasted 9 years, 7 years on console, I think the end result of Tekken isn't going to look anything like it does now. I think it's still going to be offensive, but I think just with the gripes and the things like that people have, I think it's going to be balanced well. So my thing is, I'm enjoying Tekken 8 Season 2, but at the same time, I know it's a process. I think Season 3 or even Season 2.5 is going to look much different than what we have now. My main thing is just that I don't want to be tracked by linear attacks when I'm stepping, and I don't want the game to just feel like constant casino rush down. And I think a lot of that can be nullified by just simply sticking to what you promoted. I think people's real issue with this season is that, as I said, they have too much history in the game. So it's like that nostalgia or that old Tekken is fixated in their brain, where I don't have that issue, because since I didn't play a lot of Tekken 7 to the capacity that they did, that can't haunt me. So all I have to go off of is this version of Tekken 8. So I think it's that. And then it's just the fact that they promoted the sidestepping stuff, but it doesn't feel that different. So I think it's more so about the messaging that people are upset with and then the response. Now, what I will give Tekken credit for and Harada credit for is that one thing I really love about Harada is that when he knows that people are upset, he'll have the conversation. He'll make the long tweet. He'll engage. Some people will get disrespectful, which I'm sure is mentally exhausting. But overall, for the most part, he'll have the conversation, and they're looking to make the game as best as possible. I do have faith in them. Did they drop the ball some with this season in regards to promoting defense and then adding new offensive moves to track? Yeah, I don't really understand that. I watched the video of FDX's where he broke this stuff down, and it seems like what they pretty much did wrong more than anything else is whatever your character weakness was, they gave them a buff to try to negate that weakness. But that weakness is what creates the identity. So it's like, for instance, some character have a ton of mobility. I feel like Law doesn't have the best mobility at maximum range. He needs to be inside to kind of set up the mixes and stuff versus somebody like Lars who can dash all around the place, Devil Jin who can fly full screen, Elisa who can fly full screen, Raven who can teleport to your opposite side. There are all these different uniquenesses, right? I think the only real issue is that they're trying to make everybody have all these strong buffs offensively, and I don't think that that's the way to go. I think you should give the characters their kit and have them use what they're best at, but their weaknesses should stay their weaknesses. That's what makes the game fun. Like Asuka, for instance, she has great defensive options with her Sabakis and all these different parries and shit like that. She doesn't need all this offensive tracking nonsense to make her strong offensively, because if you play Asuka, you're looking to play a defensive-minded counter standpoint type of game. Versus if I'm a Law player, I'm looking to frame trap, get up on you, get you in the corner, get some wall carry, get you against the wall, get you one of the mash buttons while I set you up. I think everybody kind of has their strengths and their weaknesses, and that's what Tekken 8 will ultimately look like when it's said and done. That's what I pretty much think. So I have faith in Harada. I do like Season 2. Season 2 does need some adjustments because nothing is ever perfect. Everything can always be optimized. But I think more so than anything else, it's the communication. It's the promotion of saying, hey, we're going to make things more defensive. So then when you make things more defensive, don't add any offensive moves. If I had the same Law set, the same move set from Law from Season 1, and we had defensive buffering, I would like all that. However, I'm a fan of some of the new moves, so I'm not mad at them giving us more tools to work with. Just don't give people over-the-top moves like Jax Make Some Noise or all these crazy tracking mids. Like, Zafina has a tracking mid that is plus on block that is max distance range. And I could be wrong, but I think it's a heat engager. It might not be a heat engager. But then on top of that, if you block it, she has a follow-up for pushback. That's just obnoxious. So whoever's tuning things in regards to the offensive side of the game, they need to just take a step back. And the defensive options need to be made a little bit more important, just so I can feel like I'm not getting steamrolled by casino stuff. But overall, these are my thoughts on Tekken 8 Season 2. I think it's more of like an ignorance is bliss type of thing. There could be some truth in the middle. I think that the pro players definitely have some gripes that matter. I agree with some of their gripes. However, I'm not really in the ballpark of, oh, I'm not going to play this game, I'm boycotting it. I love Tekken 8. I play like as I've said, I was known for playing Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat 11 was a great game to me. Mortal Kombat 1 kind of lost their identity, and when they lost their identity, Tekken 8 came out to be one of the probably the best fighting game to me as far as the launches go. So even though people have those gripes about whatever they don't like, the truth is, since I'm newer to Tekken, the franchise in itself, I'm enjoying it because I don't know any other. I don't know any better. So it's like it's the ignorance is bliss thing. It's almost like the pro players and the legacy players, they just know too much to enjoy this game, and I'm not knocking them for that. Like, I'm not saying they're wrong, I'm not saying I'm right, I'm saying it's all everybody's preference. But I think overall, as long as the communication from the dev team aligns with what we see in the game, they'll be better going forward. And I will say, considering they promoted defense, some of these new offensive moves, some of this make some noise with Jack, I don't know what they were thinking. Like, I genuinely don't know what they were thinking. People need to have defensive options. There needs to be counterplay. It needs to feel like chess and not one-sided checkers. So I think as long as they get to that point, in the future, the game will be great, and I think it's great right now. And because of the backlash of the community and how unified they can be, and the fact that the dev team at Tekken responds pretty often, especially with Harada taking the heat. I know Michael Murray, I think that's his name. I know he doesn't take the heat that well. He blocked misplays stuff, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Like, you shouldn't be blocking one of your most prominent creators, especially one of the most women prominent creators in the spaces, because it's like she has a unique take on and sense of humor on things as far as her standing out for her community. So it's kind of weird to like block her of all people, because she like represents a large corner of players that you would want to have interested in the game. But I think overall, as long as their messaging and their promotions kind of align with what we feel in the game, they'll be fine. And I think that they pretty much have to, because they can't just continue to shove offense down our throat. Like that's not possible. Like if they're getting the backlash they're getting from the community, they can't just keep going offense. Like that's not going to work, and it could kill the game, which I just don't think will happen. So I think overall, as I said, I'm a fan of Tekken 8 Season 2. I enjoy the direction that the game is going, and I just hope that it gets patched in a way where they can kind of pull back and admit some of their mistakes. I like the new moves, some of the new moves. I like the new combo routes for Law. I just want defensive options to feel a little bit better so I can separate myself in skill gap by using my mind instead of feeling like I gotta beat you to offense first. Because some fighting games are like that, but I think in Tekken 8 right now, it feels like to the average person, I need to get into my offense before you do. And that's not the worst ideology, but considering that the game had strong defensive options throughout the past, as far as like the different legacy of games, you need to still have that balance. I don't want to feel like that I gotta beat you to offense. I like to feel like I get to pick and choose my spots on offense, and maybe I can get some breathing room with backdashing. So other than that, didn't want this to be too lengthy. I think I've been talking a whole bunch. My mouth feels very dry. This video is probably like 35 minutes or longer. But those are my thoughts on Tekken 8 Season 2. I'm not going to be boycotting the game. I'm still going to be streaming a lot, still playing it a lot. It is my favorite fighting game right now. And I'm just looking to learn more and get better. And I hope that you guys are taking that same mentality into it. But I do understand if you have years and years of experience and you feel like that experience is being now nullified, I can see you wanting to step away, because I was expecting to have that same type of experience with Mortal Kombat 12 and come in and be a monster out the gate. And granted, I'm really, really strong in Mortal Kombat 1, but there is some lack of fulfillment considering that it's a completely different game than the one I fell in love with. And I think that's what a lot of the Tekken 8 pro players are going through that were used to playing Tekken 7, Tekken 6, Tekken 5, etc. So let's wrap this video up. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you think that Law is better now, or that he's nerfed? Do you think the game is better now, or that it should be toned down? And what are your overall thoughts on Tekken 8 Season 2? Let me know. Till next time, it's your boy Lou Streets. I'm out. Peace. You better not bum me off this fucking reel, I swear to God. Woo. I don't think I've ever seen the green one before.